If you are in the market for a new indoor cycle bike, then this video is for you. I'm going to give you my top 5 things that you should consider before you go out and make that purchase. The number one thing for you to start with is your budget. Because these bikes have such a wide range of price points, you need to know where your budget lies. They can go anywhere from $100 to over $2,000. So figure out that price point that works best for you, and then you can factor in all the features to figure out which bike is going to be your best fit. The next step would be thinking about the resistance. The resistance is a major thing on a spin bike. It helps us to simulate like we're going up hills and helps us to give that factor of the push on those pedals. There are 2 types of resistance that are out there to choose from, and you need to pick which one you think will work best for you. The first type of resistance is your magnetic resistance, and the second type of resistance is your friction resistance. Your first type of resistance is your magnetic resistance, and it's just like it sounds. It uses magnets to help control that flywheel to help it feel like you're getting more gear and maybe climbing a hill. The good thing about magnetic resistance is it's very precise. So if you turn that knob, that gear on your bike up, you're going to feel it, even with the slightest little turn. It's also very smooth and generally is pretty quiet. The downside to the magnetic resistance, though, is that it can be a little bit pricey. The second type of resistance that you'll find on indoor cycling bikes is friction resistance. And how friction works is that it actually uses a physical brake pad to go against the flywheel in order to help slow it down to give you that simulation of gear and resistance. There are 2 types of friction resistances that you'll see. One is using a double brake pad that kind of squeezes that wheel, and the other one is a single one that comes down from the top and helps to slow that wheel down. Now, the friction resistance bikes tend to be a little less expensive than your magnetic resistance, but it also does come with some downfalls. The first being that you will most likely have to replace the pads because over time they become worn and they just don't quite give you the same feel as they did when they were brand new. And the second thing is that they aren't as precise. So the magnetic resistance that I talked about, really precise as you gear up. Your brake pad resistance, not quite as precise. So it just comes down to which is going to work best for you. Another factor to consider when purchasing your bike is adjustability. It is so important that your bike is to be able to be adjusted to your size and your frame. So think about it. If you're really tall, you're going to want to get a bike that the seat can come up high enough so that it's at the proper form for you. Same thing if you're really short. If the seat is at the bottom of its position, will it still work to fit your frame? The thing that was most important for me was handlebar height. I like my handlebars high, so that ruled out a lot of bikes because the handlebars would not get as high as I prefer. But going again with the handlebars, some of them you can move out and you can move in to adjust to your needs. Other bikes, they are set just where they're at and there's no changing. So definitely look into the factors that you need to adjust. Find out what the heights can be, how they can move, and how it can be adjusted to fit your frame. Another factor for you to consider is your flywheel weight. That's the wheel on the bike. The heavier the flywheel, the better. So once you've figured out your budget, find the bike with the heaviest flywheel and all the other components that you need that will fit within that budget. I would not recommend going about below a 30-pound flywheel weight. Remember, the heavier, the better, the smoother and more consistent it will be. The final factor I'm going to go over with you today is your accessories. Some bikes come and they are just the bike, bare bones, nothing there. And that's completely fine if that's what you want and it's within your budget. Just another thing you might want to think about are accessories. So many accessories are offered with bikes these days. The first one I can think of is a console, which would be right in front of you while you are riding that will tell you your revolutions per minute, your RPMs or your speed. It might also give you the distance that you've ridden, as well as being able to connect to a heart rate monitor so you can see all that information in one spot. Another thing to consider is if you're interested in your power output, your watts generated, you might want to find a console that specifically also includes that information as well. The next accessory, which I find very important, is your clipped pedals. Do your pedals offer an option for you to be able to clip your cycling shoes in? Some bikes do not come with those right away. They're something that you might have to add on after. But if you don't want that hassle of switching out the pedals, that might be important for you to look for a bike that already has the clip-in pedals attached. Another thing that you might not think about is, where is the water bottle holder? Because that is very important when you're taking a spin class, is to have a place where you can get your water easily. Some come up at the top, like mine right here on the handlebars. Others have a little cage that you can put it in on the side, or they might lie it right on the frame. But definitely don't forget to look for the bike's water holder. Something else to consider is your seat. Now, I always tell my riders that they will get used to their seat and the saddle discomfort will go away the more consistent you are with riding. However, if that's somewhat of a concern for you, definitely look at the seat. Is it wide enough? Do you feel like it's going to be cushy enough for you? And you can always buy one of those cushion pads to go over your seat if you don't particularly like the way it feels. But I promise you, keep showing up, keep pedaling, and it won't bother you anymore. There you have it, my top 5 things that you need to think about before you invest in your indoor cycling bike. I hope it's helped. I can't wait for you to get your bike, and then we can ride together on screen soon.